Welcome to this screencast on research strategies for your seminar paper. This particular screencast is about organizing and tracking your research. It's one in a series of screencasts on scholarly research resources for you as a member of the UNM School of Law community. Please check out our other screencasts about scholarly research resources such as topic selection, preemption checks, and secondary sources for your research. You can find links to the other videos in this screencast series, as well as tons more information about the scholarly research and writing process on the Law Library's Research Guide. This guide is crafted particularly for you as a member of the UNM School of Law student body. Other law libraries create research guides too, and sometimes they can be really helpful. However, sometimes those guides link to resources that are not accessible to us here at UNM Law. The guide linked here is populated entirely with materials that you are able to access. Here's what the Scholarly Research and Writing Resources Research Guide looks like. You'll notice it has a standard formatted homepage and two tabs, one containing resources for academic student writing, discussion, and textual guidance on various topics. The second tab contains links to the additional videos in this series. You can also access other subject-specific legal research guides on our website. The hyperlink is on the slide. It's lawlibrary.unm.edu. When you enter the website, you'll scroll down and look for the link to research guides with the little puzzle piece next to it. You'll see an alphabetical list of research guides created by the UNM Law Library to help you with your legal research. A link to the Scholarly Research and Writing Resources Guide is included on this alphabetical list, so you don't even need to bookmark it. In this screencast, I'll explain why you should bother with the legal research problem analysis, planning, and logging necessary to organize and track your legal research. I'll also explain how to conduct a problem analysis in some detail, and I'll describe how to create a resource strategy to guide your legal research efforts. Finally, I'll explain how to record your work in a research log. A research log is important to keep track of the complex research you will do for a seminar paper. A log is really important for other legal research situations as well, such as during an externship or when tracking your work for a client in clinic. I want to speak briefly to the question of why should you bother doing research and analysis and planning. Your careful notes about research strategy and your research process do several things for you. You avoid duplication of effort. You avoid that moment of asking yourself, did I look at that source already? You're going to document the time you spend on research. This will be crucial in legal practice. Your documentation will help you answer questions from whoever gives you the assignment. Essentially, you're covering yourself should concerns arise later. Your research planning and documentation promote the ethical use of legal information on many levels, with proper citation being the most critical. Your analytical notes will help you organize and write your final product, no matter what it is, a seminar paper, a brief, or a memo. And note-taking in the structure I provide or whatever format works for you promotes understanding. Printing out cases or other documents and highlighting them does not. Most people want to jump right into doing research. It's actually important to take the pause, those few minutes to analyze the question you've been asked and do some planning. It can save a lot of pain in the long run. I want to give you an overview of the two different steps of creating a research plan. In the first step, you analyze the problem or problems you've been asked. First, you record a statement of the legal issue or issues to be researched. This can actually take time to develop the skill to identify the issues, but do what you can. You've got to determine which law addresses your client's problem, so you've got to start thinking about the actual issue. Write down the jurisdiction in which the problem arises and its controlling. This could be federal, state, or local, or a combination of these. Jot down your thoughts on the area of law that you're going to be working with. You'll be trying to figure out under which legal subject area the problem arises. It's important because different types of law predominate for different subject areas. It'll help you guide your efforts. You're going to want to record key facts for your research. Not all the facts you're presented with in a problem are legally significant. Not all of them give rise to a legal claim. Your task is to determine which facts are important for resolving the problem and which will be helpful to you to generate search terms. So that's our next step, generating a potential list of search terms. I like to use the 5 W's: what, who, when, where, and why, like a journalist. Some people use other approaches, but I think the 5 W's are typically a great place to start. From identifying those elements, you'll be able to tease out potential search terms. One important thing to record in your course of your problem analysis are questions that you have about the assignment you've been given and the assumptions that you're operating on. If you're not able to get resolution of questions and assumptions that you've recorded in your problem analysis, be sure to explain those in your final product so the reader or your client can understand where you're coming from. Be sure also, finally, in your problem analysis to record what kind of final product you're going to need to produce. This will also determine some of the steps that you take in your research and your recording of information. So step 2 of a research plan is actually creating a strategy that involves resources. You want to list all the resources that will lead to relevant authority. This could be anything from, what are the things we think of in the course of legal research: statutes, treatises, law reviews, practice guides, etc. If you're having trouble brainstorming sources to search, list a secondary source first, rough in the rest of the things that you're guessing you're going to need to look at, then try to fill in some of the details from that secondary source. Another option would be to consult with a law librarian who can help you come up with a list of resources to search. Whenever possible, be specific. Don't just say, I'm going to search statutes. Say, New Mexico statutes annotated. After you identify a list of resources, then you need to brainstorm search terms and strategies. Some of this will be drawn from the work you did in the problem analysis, but also you want to think about the specific sources you're searching and what are the best strategies for searching those individual sources. Will you need a Boolean search for something electronic? Do you want to consult the terms of the index for a print resource? Be sure to order your search resources in your resource strategy in the order you're going to look at them. Now, in a typical research scenario, this would go from secondary sources to primary sources, but not every research question lends itself to this typical ordering of resources. If you're presented with a question that's clearly all about the New Mexico statutes, you may want to list consulting NMSA as your first step. You also want to think about and record any constraints on the project. Most often here in law school, those are going to be constraints of time and deadlines. Otherwise, you may also want to think about monetary limits and any other limits that you're operating under in this project. So when you create your plan, you're going to need to write it down. The act of writing it down, in fact, helps you getting yourself mentally organized to execute your plan. An outline format is usually easiest. I've provided an example on this slide. It shows the 2 steps, the problem analysis first, and then the research or resource strategy second. Once you make a plan, you're going to work the plan. You're going to do the research. While you're doing the research and working the plan, you're going to record your research process. Here are the elements you'll want to include. You'll want to name the resource that you search, put the title. You're going to include the search terms that you actually used, how you organized them, what was the search strategy, and you're also going to record the number of hits you received in that resource. You're going to include notes of what you found. Was it useful? If so, spell out the specific elements that are helpful to your research. Very importantly, you're also going to list citations and leads that you discover in each resource. That means stuff you need to pursue later or new research steps you've discovered by tapping into the expertise of authors and the courts. Be sure to record the date you researched the resource and some validity and currency information. What was the date of the last update, current through, and then also you're going to need to check for negative treatment using a citator for statutes, cases, other primary law. When you execute your research plan and record your research process, you're going to need to write it down.
See on the slide is an example in a simple table in Microsoft Word. Each search of an individual resource is numbered and you can see the elements of a research log in each column: name, search terms, findings, leads to follow up later, and the date, citator, and currency information. You can record your research log in any format you like. When you've worked your plan, you feel like you're at the end of the process, you need to do a little wrap up with your research logging. You might want to check the steps of one of the model research processes.
Impeccable Research by Mark Osbeck contains a nice model.
Did you hit all the steps that's listed on the model? If you didn't complete one of those steps, do you have a good reason that you could explain to someone who's asking you about what you did? Review your research plan. Did you miss any of the steps you outlined? If so, can you explain why that's okay? If not, you need to go back and cover that ground. Or did you realize in the course of your research that there were things missing from your research plan? Do you need to add those back in? Do you need to follow up on those citations and leads? And if you find that the law doesn't support the solution you had in mind, it's time to brainstorm options, typically in consultation with an attorney who made the assignment. So the research product, it's the final stage of the research process. You're going to produce something. Maybe it's a letter for a client. Maybe it's a comprehensive review of the legal issue.
Maybe it's the scholarly paper for your writing seminar.
Whatever you produce is going to summarize your research findings. If you sit down to draft your final research product and you can't do it, that is your clue that your research is not complete. You need to go back and read more in a secondary source or some other source to ground yourself in this topic.
In this screencast, I reminded you why research planning and logging are important and why you should bother spending the time doing these things. I explained the two parts of a really thorough research plan: problem analysis and creating a resource strategy. I described what information should be recorded in a research log and how to wrap up your logging process and transition to writing your seminar paper. Please check out the other screencasts in this series about scholarly research and writing topics. There are other screencasts about topics like crafting research strategies, selecting a paper topic and doing a preemption check, and how to use secondary sources effectively in your scholarly legal research. Remember that you can find links to all of these in the Law Library's research guide about scholarly research and writing. The hyperlink is right here on this page. You can also get to the guide by using the research guides link on the Law Library's website, lawlibrary.unm.edu. If you need more help with your research strategies, please reach out. The law librarians can assist. Contact the Law Library Reference Desk via email or by phone. The virtual reference desk is staffed Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, and we're here to help.